Hey guys, and welcome back. It is Friday, which means I am about to do my pre-first class readings. Start on those because, as I expect with much schools, you're gonna have to come to your first class with homework already completed. So I'm gonna start that now, but first I want to give you some more information on the school I'm going to. I am going to Stetson Law School. It is the first law school in Florida, and it is known for its legal writing and trial advocacy. Actually, it's one of the best law schools in trial advocacy, and they have their teams internationally known for, winning competitions and such. And me, I also am interested in advocacy, so that was kind of one of the selling points. And as far as I can see, looking at the stats on LSAT, the applicant profile typically range from GPA of 3.35 to 3.75. It's like the median, with an LSAT score from 156 to 160. So if you fall in that range, then you could get admitted. But of course, admission, they take, full character profile into consideration. All in all, as you can see from the picture, it's a beautiful campus, and I immediately fell in love with it. So without further ado, I'm going to get into my readings. One thing you'll notice, I don't know if this goes for all schools, but my criminal law book here, my professor is actually one of the authors for the book, Professor Parker. So as you can see, a lot of what you're going to learn is going to be pretty much essentially what the professor wants you to learn. So you have to take that into consideration. You may think while you're studying that it should be a certain way, but if your professor's name is on the book, then it'll behoove you to take their thoughts into consideration. What they find important is important. So I try to keep that in mind. I have 30 pages of background reading for criminal law, and then it's going to do another 30-page getting into the first cases. So for now, since it's Friday, few days before my class, I'm only going to do the background information. I'll save the casework and getting into it later, and I'll show you guys how I plan on doing my outlining for that. So if you want, you can just hang out and study with me as I get into it. Or I'll eventually just skip forward, and then at the end of the reading, I'm going to try to relay what I learned, kind of where I think this is going, any questions I've come up with that I'm going to bring to the professor and such. And I do that for yourself too if you're also studying and reading. Always have a list of questions to take to the professor, because at the end of the day, it's the professor who's making the test, who's teaching the course, and whose name is on the book. So if you have any questions, I'm sure they'll be able to clear it up for you. And you also help out the other students in the classroom who have the same questions but are a little too shy to ask them. And before I get into the reading, just my kind of quick guide and tips. Before I read anything, I always take a look at the table of contents, see how the chapters are broken down into the pieces, so I can have a big picture before going into it. For example, here, chapter 4, it breaks down intentional killings. It subdivides into murder, then it goes into second-degree murder, and then it goes into manslaughter. So before I start reading, I have it in my mind, okay, this is going to be broken up into 3 sections. It's all talking about intentional killings. That's the big picture, and then you go into the details. It kind of primes your mind to take in the information. And then after I read a table of contents, I go and I just read through the chapter subheadings. I read through those just so I can have a brain roadmap, so I can know what I'm looking for. And when I'm actually reading, then is where I look for the important stuff based on the big picture. This will help more when it comes to outlining, which I'm not going to do today since this is just background information, but I'll tell you about that once I get there. And hopefully it works out for the both of us. Let's see how it goes. All right, well, I have finished that, and it was kind of boring some parts interesting. But before that, I'd recommend getting you a book holder. This came in clutch, as you don't have to look down, you can just relax, because with a lot of reading, you want to be as comfortable as possible. And putting all that aside, I did take a break after about, what, 25 minutes of reading. I went outside, got some sunlight, took like a 5-minute break, and did kind of an off and on cycles. So if you ever feel like that brain fog's coming up and you're just reading just to read and you're not taking anything in, once you notice that, get outside for a little bit or do a small task just to get your mind off of it. Me, it's kind of been a minute since I've been, in the studious realm, so my time periods have changed. I used to go, an hour before I needed to take a, 15-minute break, but, it'll increase as I go along. You just got to know yourself, know your limits where your brain's not really taking it in. Well, just a quick summary. I really like how they laid this out. It was pretty much just an overview of the criminal system in the process of going from, being charged with a crime and the police investigation, all throughout the pre-trial things that happened during trial, after trial, appeals. It kind of gave the general layout. And going through, I kind of highlighted some things that I didn't know at first, like how the Fifth and Sixth Amendment plays their role when it comes to, every defense person has the right to an attorney. Right to an attorney and right to be heard by a jury in cases of, criminal cases. And later I also learned about, the jury nullification, where, there's sufficient evidence to say, hey, yeah, this guy did it. Even the law says it, and there's abundant proof, the jury can still come back and say, nah, we don't think he did it, or we choose not to enforce the law in this case. They gave some names of cases where that happened, but I'm not going to get too far into that. That's just what I thought was interesting personally. Overall, for such as background information, pretty much you're just going to learn where the law comes from, how it's used, why it's used in such a manner, and pretty much how it's acted out. You'll learn a little bit about the roles of the prosecutor, the defense attorney, and the judge, and the jury as well. So it's kind of just an overview. So not too much deep into it. It's kind of surface level, and I don't think this would be used for information, say, on a test, but it could play a part down the line where, there's legal questions and you got to know this background information in order to make sense of what happened. So yes, that's all for this video. This is just a starter video. I haven't really gotten to a case yet, so the way I'm going to take notes and study those and kind of start working on my outline hasn't come into effect yet, but let me know your thoughts. Comment down below what you would like to see, or if, maybe I can answer a question, because I have done a lot of YouTube, watching videos, and reading books and prep for law school. So kind of been, all over the place. So let me know in the comments below what you like. Subscribe and follow along. See you next time.